Welcome, everybody, to today's lecture on motivation and emotion. At its core, this topic addresses one of the most profound questions. Why do we do what we do? Every decision we make, every goal that we set, and even the feeling we experience are influenced by emotions and motivation. They drive our behavior, they shape our perspective, and ultimately, well, they define how we approach life. Motivation is the force behind our actions. It gives us a reason to wake up, to learn, to work, to pursue relationships. But motivation doesn't exist in isolation. It interacts deeply with our emotion. Think about a time when you felt passionate about something, whether it's a personal goal, a relationship, or an achievement. That emotional connection likely fueled your motivation. So, here today in this lecture, we're kind of going to discuss how emotions are not just reactions to integral drivers of not just reactions, but they're actually just more of integral drivers of our motivation. For instance, joy can propel us to achieve goals, while fear can hold us back or push us towards safety. Now, understanding these elements not only helps us navigate our lives, but also it offers insight into human behavior in a broader context, like workspace, like families, and like societies. So, what is motivation? Well, motivation at its simplest is a need or desire that energizes behavior and directs it towards a goal. So, you want to think about it as an internal or an external fuel that keeps us moving. So, for example, when you wake up in the morning and decide to go to college, what drives that decision? Or when you wake up in the morning and decide to go to work, what drives that decision? Is it a desire for knowledge, a future career, or perhaps the influence of your family and or your community? Now, motivation can be seen as either start or a stop to a behavior. So it's like an engine or ignition in the car. Without it, the car won't move. So no matter how great the engine is, it just wouldn't move. So our lives are filled with examples of motivations at play. Studying for an exam, working out, staying healthy, eating the right food, or even spending time with loved ones to nurture relationships. We also need to consider both the internal and external factors as well. Like you have internal forces, which might include your personal aspirations, your emotions, and external factors, which could be societal expectations or rewards. Now, these factors interact continuously, driving not only what we do, but also how we feel while we're doing it. So I'll ask you this question. What motivates you to be listening to this video right now or to this podcast right now? Take a moment, reflect on it, reflect on the internal and external forces at play in your answer. Motivation can be broadly categorized into two types, which we started talking about earlier, which is intrinsic and extrinsic. Now, with intrinsic motivation, that is when your actions are driven by external rewards or outcomes. So, for example, you go to a job, you work for the money, or you study hard to get a good grade. Now, these motivations, they come from outside of yourself, and they're often tied to a tangible reward or a social approval. Now, when you have intrinsic motivation, it's the opposite. It is when you do something because you find it inherently satisfying or rewarding. It's like when you pick up your Bible and you start reading your Bible. That is inherent or internal motivation because you want to be better, because you want to be saved. Now, imagine creating an art just for the joy of it, or maybe playing a sport because you love the challenge and the fun it brings. That, my friend, is intrinsic motivation. There are several theories that attempt to explain why we're motivated to do what we do. Each offers a unique lens through which we can view this human behavior. So we're going to touch on three. So instinct theory, drive theory, and incentive theory. With instinct theory, it suggests that our behaviors are hardwired and rooted in our biology. It's out of instinct. So think about how birds migrate and how humans are naturally inclined to seek companionship. This theory emphasizes that some motivations are innate. That's it. They just come through the instinct. And drive theory, on the other hand, it focuses on biological need. So when we're hungry, thirsty, or tired, we're motivated to satisfy those needs to restore balance. And that balance is often called homeostasis. And so this incentive theory, finally, the last one we're talking about is incentive theory, which highlights the role of external rewards and its promise of a prize. So, what is the incentive behind what you're doing? What is it that you're getting into? Now, let's break them down a little bit more. Instinct tells us that certain behaviors are innate, and that it's part of our genetic makeup and it's crucial for our survival. Take reproduction, for example. It's hardwired into all species because it ensures that there's a continuation of life. Behaviors like seeking safety or forming social bonds are also rooted in our instinct. In humans, instinct often manifests in subtle ways. So, for example, being territorial, a behavior seen in animal is also mirrored in how we value personal space or take pride in our homes. This is why you decorate your home, you make it look nice, you make it feel like your home. So this is also part of this instinct theory. These instinctual behaviors might not always be conscious, but they guide much of what we do. And so instincts can also create conflict. For example, while instinctively drawn to sugar food for energy, overconsumption in today's world can actually lead to a lot of health issues. So we have to understand where we stand in this theory and where we are following. Now, the next one is we're talking about instinctual behaviors, and they're very fascinating because they are universal across species and they play a crucial role in survival and reproduction. So, for example, behaviors like reproduction and social dominance are deeply rooted in our evolutionary history. These behaviors, they ensure the survival of species. So whether it's through procreation or establishing a hierarchy or maintaining order within a group, all that belong to the instinctual behavior. So humans, like other animals, they exhibit very territorial behavior. So think about the phrase, "this is my space," whether it's a personal desk, a home, or even a favorite seat in a classroom. Humans naturally feel a sense of ownership and protection over their space. Now, this territoriality is instinctual, so it helps establish boundaries and reduce conflict by defining areas of control. Drive theory is next, and drive theory is also known as drive reduction or homeostasis theory, which revolves around this idea that our actions are motivated by internal drive to reduce tension caused by unmet biological needs. So you want to think of hunger, thirst, or fatigue. These are all driven by needs. These needs create a state of discomfort, and when we are motivated to take actions to restore that balance. So, for example, let's say you're hungry and your body sends signals that create a sense of urgency. This drive motivates you to seek food, and once you eat, that tension is reduced and you feel satisfied. You've heard the term hangry. It's kind of like that. You're angry or you're at discomfort because you are hungry. And once you eat, you feel better. And so the concept of this homeostasis that is central to the drive theory, and homeostasis, just so you know, it refers to the body's natural state of balance, whether it's maintained at a stable body temperature, adequate hydration, or sufficient rest. So when something disturbs this balance, our brain sends signals to motivate corrective actions. So for example, when you're dehydrated, you feel thirsty. Thirst drives you to drink water, which restores the body's fluid balance. Now, drive theory actually it actually raises some interesting questions. So, for example, how do we account for behaviors that disturb balance, such as eating disorders? These complex conditions, they highlight how psychological factors can actually override biological drives, leading to behaviors that may seem counterintuitive to survival. Because your brains are very powerful, because you can think things into, I want to say think things into existence, but also more so than that, it's it's powerful. Your thoughts really determine your life and the outcome of your life. There's a great book by Elder Thaddeus, I think, called Our Thoughts Determine Our Lives. Really good book. Highly recommend it. All right, so now incentive theory, it focuses on the pull of external rewards. So this is different from drive theory, which is about reducing internal discomfort. Incentive theory actually explains how external goals or rewards are motivate behavior. So for example, you might study hard to get an A in the class, work out to gain compliments, or go to work to earn money. Now, these rewards act as incentives pulling you towards your goal. And what makes incentives so powerful is that its ability to align its person with personal goals. So, for example, if you value financial stability, the incentive of a paycheck is particularly motivating. However, not all incentives are equal for everyone. What motivates one person might not work for another person. You may have gone through a great change in your life and you are motivated by certain things. Those things will not motivate someone who is struggling with the same thing you are struggling. While incentive theory highlights the power of rewards, it's also important to recognize that not all behaviors have direct incentives attached. So some actions are actually driven purely by personal growth, enjoyment, or a sense of purpose. So, for example, hobbies like painting, gardening, or even playing instruments don't have external rewards. They're done for the sheer joy they bring. And so that brings us to a deeper question. What motivates us when there's no clear incentives? Often these behaviors are tied to intrinsic motivation, which is the desire to explore, learn, and express ourselves, which is what we talked about at the beginning of this section as well. So, for example, volunteering for a cause you might believe in might not offer material rewards, but it does offer a sense of fulfillment. So, what I want you to do is think about your own life. What are some things you do just for fun without anything, expecting anything in reward? And that is intrinsic motivation. Now, in psychology, motives can be categorized into three main types. That is primary motives, stimulus motives, and secondary motives. These categories, they help us understand the wide range of human behavior by breaking them down into their core drivers. Let's take a look at primary motivation or primary, sorry, motives. They are the foundation of survival. They are the biological needs that hardwire into us as humans. So things like hunger, thirst, and the need for sleep. Without these, our bodies cannot function. Primary motives also include less obvious needs like regulation of body temperature and avoiding pain. Think of it as you pulling your hand back quickly after touching something hot. That's your body's primary motive for avoiding harm and protecting you. Primary motives, they are universal. The way we may fulfill them may vary widely, though. So, for example, while hunger is a sharp need, the type of food people seek out when they're hungry is different. And so so things are different in that sense. Okay. Stimulus motivation are fascinating because they go beyond the basic survival and tap into our simulation and curiosity. Now, these motives, they drive us to explore the world, learn new things, and stay engaged. You want to think of these activities like playing a sport, reading a book, or even surfing the internet. They aren't about survival, they're just about fulfillment. So you want to imagine a world without stimulation, without challenges or new information. Life would really be just very monotonous. So our stimulus motivates us to keep, motivates motives keep us curious and engaged. And it kind of explains why we often think or seek out activities for fun, like hanging out with friends or throwing parties. They really just keep us connected and fulfilled. Secondary motivation are those that are learned or influenced by personal experience and societal norms. So they're not innate to you, you learn them from somewhere else. They are they include things like achievement, status, relationships. All of these are part of this. For example, so the desire to succeed in career or gain social approval comes under secondary motives, and these drives often shape long-term goals and define how we are as individuals. So a person connecting a talent show or competing in a talent show like American Idol is motivated by the need for achievement and recognition. These motives are unique to each person and they are shaped by upbringing, culture, and individual experience. So what is important to you is shaped by your world and what it entails. So even animals demonstrate the stimulus motives, as you can see here with these little monkeys that are playing. Their actions aren't about survival. They're really just driven by curiosity and this need for stimulation. So you can kind of see that this isn't just unique for human learning or from human surviving, right? Okay, so sensation seeking is a personality trait that drives individuals to seek out novel, intense, or exciting experiences. So, people who score high on sensation seeking scales are often more adventurous, bold, and enjoy taking risks. So, these people who are bungee jumping, they're doing all kinds of adventurous activities. You see them, and that may be you, that may not be you. That would be sensation seeking. So they thrive in dynamic environments and often pursue activities like extreme sport, travel to exotic places, or engage in creative pursuits. So for these individuals, life without stimulation can feel monotonous. And so high sensation seekers, they often value independence and change. They may feel a strong need to break away from routines and explore new possibilities. And this doesn't necessarily mean that they're reckless. It actually just means that they're motivated by the thrill of new experiences and challenges. It doesn't have to be jumping from an airplane. It could be discovering new things, learning new things, being motivated by these challenges. So most of us fall somewhere between the two extremes of high sensation and low sensation. And with low sensation, people prefer stability and structure. They enjoy feeling calm, nurturing environment, and feel most comfortable with routine. However, most of us kind of fall between these two. So take a moment and think about where you belong in all of this. So we're going to reflect deeply for a moment on a personal question. What motivates you? This is really an invitation to think about or think beyond the surface level drivers and examine the core values and desires that shape your life. And really just let that sink in. For me, I have come to know or understand that my life mission is one day I'll tell the world about my love, and that day starts today. The choice is mine. So everything that I do is motivated by that statement. The fact that one day I will share God with the world by the little things that I do on a daily basis. And that for me is a driver for making ethical decisions, making things or doing things that are right and as they're supposed to happen. So building on this concept of sensation seekers, we now turn our focus to the lower end of the spectrum. And here we're looking at people who are described as calm, nurturing, and giving. They find joy in the company of others and prefer environments that are predictable and secure. So while high sensation seekers chase thrill, low sensation seekers find fulfillment in quieter and more structured activities. All right, the need for achievement is one of the most powerful motivators in human behavior. It reflects it refers to the habitual desire to set and achieve goals, often driven by the internal standards of excellence. So, for people with high needs for achievement, success is not just about external rewards, but also about personal fulfillment. So, this motivation often manifests in activities that require effort and persistence, whether it's excelling in academics, a sport, or a career. Individuals with a strong need for achievement are willing to put in the hard work to reach their goal. And I think one of the biggest realization I would say in my life is you not only need to make sacrifices, but you also need to make the right sacrifices and not just dream of the outcome, but actually work for the outcome. Interestingly, people with high need for achievement also tend to set realistic and challenging goals. They don't shy away from difficult tasks, but ensure that their efforts are attainable with focus and dedication. All right, Maslow's hierarchy of need provides a structured way of understanding human motivation. So, as its foundation, Maslow believed that people have innate needs that must be met in a specific order. At the base of the pyramid, which I don't know if it's here, there we go. At the base of the pyramid, you have psychological needs like food, water, and shelter. And without these, individuals cannot focus on higher level goals. So once the basic needs are fulfilled, individuals seek safety, followed by love and belonging. So these social needs highlight the importance of relationship and community. Beyond that, esteem needs to emerge, focusing on achievement and self respect. And at the very top, self actualization, the drive to realize one's full potential. And what's particularly compelling about Maslow theory is the idea that without a nurturing environment, progress up the hierarchy can be hindered. For example, a child who grows up in an unsafe, unloving home may struggle with self esteem or personal fulfillment later. So, Maslow's model really just reminds us that personal growth is interconnected with our environment. So, I want you to reflect on your own life. How has meeting your basic needs allowed you to focus on higher aspirations? And this theory is not just a framework for psychology, but also calls to ensure that society provides the foundational support for everyone to thrive. And so, as you're looking at this visual representation, you can kind of see subsequently how it goes from one level to another. All right. So, let's take a look at the last one. Sorry, I'm trying to find the last piece of my note. Mhm. So there are 8 primary emotions. We have fear, we have surprise, sadness, disgust, anger, anticipation, happy, and trust. All right. Now, facial expressions are one of the most universal aspects of human emotions. So, research has shown us that basic expressions such as happiness, sadness, anger, fear, surprise, and disgust, which are the factors that we just listed, they are consistent across all culture, regardless of where you are from. This suggests that these expressions are hardwired into our biology, making them a universal language of emotion. One fascinating finding is that even children who are born blind express emotions in the same way as sighted individuals. So, for example, a blind child will smile when they're happy or frown their brows when they are upset. So, despite never having seen these expressions, they're modeled by others. They can still do them. And that's something that is very interesting. So, this provides a strong evidence that facial expressions are not learned behaviors, but innate responses. And facial expressions also serve as important social functions. They help us communicate emotions without words, allowing us to understand how we feel. So, for example, a smile, a true smile, a genuine smile can convey friendliness, while a frown signals displeasure. The facial feedback hypothesis is a fascinating concept that really just suggests our facial expressions can actually influence our emotions, not just reflect them. So, for example, the act of smiling, even when you're not happy, makes you feel more positive. This is because the physical act of smiling sends signals to the brain that reinforces feeling of joy. This hypothesis is also supported by studies showing that changes in facial expressions can actually lead to change in heart rate and skin temperature, which are associated with emotional states. So, for example, frowning can increase feeling of sadness or frustration, while smiling can promote relaxation and happiness. But while smiling can temporarily boost your mood, it's important to address the root of the negative emotions constructively. So, suppressing or masking your emotion with a smile can actually provide just short term relief, but won't resolve the underlying issues. And so, those are things to keep in mind. That's it for today in this series, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.